All right, looks like we're live. Let me make sure it's going out okay. Any old YouTube's here? Come on. Come on. All right. So, a little impromptu stream, a little earlier than normal. I had to call off sick today from the old box factory. It was I don't know, some sort of stomach bug. I was throwing up the first half of the day a whole bunch. Feel a lot better now, but and you know when you're sick and it's like you can't really sleep, but it's like what are you gonna do with yourself, you know? You don't really have the energy to do a whole lot, but you also like you don't want to just sleep. So I figured, why not stream? Why not make some quality content for you fine listeners out there, so that you could be sending me super chats. Gotta send them shekels there, pay piggies. People are talking about the black woman, James Bond. Yeah, we'll probably cover that a little bit. I don't have Luke with me, so I don't have any images, but yeah, they didn't even say James Bond. The next 007 in one of these movies is going to be some really fucking ugly black chick. You can't even find a hot chick to do this SJW shit. You can't even replace him with a hot chick. Oh, Matt sends $10 super chat. No message. Well, thank you very much. You can't even replace it with a hot chick. No, it's got to be some ugly ass bitch. It's got to look like a skinny. What was the name of the hideous chick in the Ghostbusters reboot? It's got to be like a skinny version of her. Yeah, so I don't believe I'm going to go see that movie. I can't wait to not see that movie. I'm not a huge James Bond fan, but my dad is. I mean, he's a boomer. So I mean, I think I've first one I saw in the theater was Goldeneye, and Goldeneye's great. Saw all the Brosnan ones in the theater. They get progressively worse with each one. The first Daniel Craig one's really good, but even his movies kind of get progressively worse. They don't get as bad as the Brosnan ones do. Brosnan's interesting because he went. Goldeneye's one of the best James Bond movies. And what was his last one? That had Halle Berry in it. Die Tomorrow or something. Tomorrow Never Dies. Tomorrow Never Dies. At least I think that's the right title. That one was horrible. That's one of the worst ones. The only one I can think of that's worse is what's the one with the voodoo shit? Like the 70s one, I think it was Roger Moore. Had all the goofy voodoo and blaxploitation shit in it. That one's pretty bad. The Roger Moore ones in general are pretty bad, but that one's pretty bad. But yeah, GoldenEye is one of my favorites. And that part of that's nostalgia. It's the first one I saw in a theater and that kind of thing. But GoldenEye is really good. GoldenEye is one of those ones that's aged really well. Like I liked a lot of the Brosnan, except for the one with Halle Berry. That one I even hated in the theater. But I liked a lot of them. I liked the other two the first time I saw them. But then the more going back watching them later, they kind of suck. I barely remember anything about them. I remember the one with Terry Hatcher. Because the villain, it was kind of an interesting motivation. Like he wasn't trying to take over the world or something. He was trying to like spark false wars, just to get higher ratings on his media empire. It was kind of an interesting like motivation for a villain. I don't think it was a particularly well done movie, but there's some interesting things in it. That's the one that had Terry Hatcher, the girl from the Superman show, Lois Clark. The other one, I guess, had Denise Richards in it. I don't really remember anything about it other than Denise Richards was looking fine, as she tends to do, but I don't really remember jack shit about it other than that. Yeah, I don't believe I'm gonna go see Double O Dindu. I'm not gonna do it. Let me I'm gonna do a quick screen share just because I want to show you the cover. There's a new comic coming out. Let's make sure I've closed all my Kim Possible porn. And go ahead and do a screen share. And so there's a Power Rangers Ninja Turtle crossover comic coming out. There's the first cover, little bigger. You see it there. It's nice artwork. I like it a lot. It looks nice. So let's go ahead and read the article here. This is off Newsarama. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers meet Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in new event. This kind of seemed like an obvious crossover to do. I mean, I know that two different companies have the properties right now. IDW has the Turtles rights and Boom has the Power Rangers rights. By the way, if you were a fan of Power Rangers as a kid, I do suggest checking out the Power Ranger comics over at Boom. They're pretty damn good. I wasn't even a big Power Ranger fan as a kid. Like, I watched a little bit of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when it was new, but I was starting to get a little old for it, kind of thing. It didn't really. It's one of those things I remember, but like I didn't have any of the toys. I didn't go see the movie or anything. It would just be on after school, and I'd watch it. But the Boom Power Rangers comics are fantastic. They also did a Justice League crossover, which was pretty fun. It sounds like reading this that it's kind of one of those out of continuity crossovers where they just act like these things existed in the same universe, rather than, somebody goes through a dimensional portal to the other universe. A lot of the crossovers lately have been more that, just acknowledging that these things exist in different universes. Like the Batman TMNT crossovers are like that. The Ghostbusters TMNT crossover, the Power Rangers Justice League crossover, like that. I kind of prefer those because they're at least arguably in continuity, and I'm an autistic nerd who gives a shit about that kind of thing. But the other ones can be fun. Let's see. Press release. Boom Studios, under license of Hasbro Inc., in partnership with IDW and Nickelodeon. I didn't realize Hasbro. Doesn't Bandai own the Power Rangers? The Japanese company? Is it like Hasbro owns American rights? I don't know. That's weird. It's also kind of weird because if Hasbro owns the Power Rangers, then why would they go to Boom Comics for the Power Rangers to license a comic? Wouldn't they just, because they have all their other properties are at IDW. Like everything else Hasbro owns is at IDW. Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, even that's Hasbro. Other stuff like Mask, I guess. Not that anyone gives a shit about that. I think even GoBots is Hasbro now, and that's at IDW. That's kind of weird. Anyways, a new 5-issue limited series, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, written by Ryan Parrott and illustrated by Simon DiMeo. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fight and maybe even team up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the first time in comic book history beginning December 2019. Power Rangers arrive in New York City to find Tommy Oliver, a.k.a. Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, but soon discover he's joined forces with villainous Shredder and the Foot Clan. As the Rangers are set reeling by this betrayal, they're confronted by another frenemy, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Can these heroes find a way to work together to defeat the bad guys and save the world from total destruction? So, should be fun. I like these kind of crossovers. And Power Ranger Ninja Turtles is sort of an obvious one to do. Power Rangers is sort of the thing that followed Ninja Turtles as far as like the big thing. Just as the Power Ranger or the Ninja Turtle phase was or craze was kind of dying, it's right when Power Rangers came onto the scene. It was the next big phenomenon. Ian McDonald sends $1.99 and says, Jemima, what is that? Jemima Bond, and Jemima Bond. I can't talk. Sorry, I'm not feeling all that well, guys. Cut me a break. Plus, I'm kind of retarded. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I'm not a big brain nibba. Okay, I don't got the big brain nibba cred here. So it says Hasbro bought all the rights from Saban and Bandai. I did not know that. I know there was technically a Power Ranger Ninja Turtle crossover because in the late 90s there was a Ninja Turtle live action show. It had a female Ninja Turtle in it, even like a fifth one. I think she was named Venus. It was pretty fucking awful, but I vaguely remember it. And I know there's I've seen clips of it online and shit. There's an episode, I think Power Rangers, that had the Ninja Turtles guest starring from that show. But it wasn't the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was one of the later versions of Power Rangers that no one gives a shit about. I shouldn't say no one. I mean, that show's been on for 26 fucking years, at least according to this article. And so, I mean, I guess someone's still watching it, but it's, I mean, I certainly don't give a shit about any of the other ones. Like I said, I followed the Boom comic a little bit, which is really good, by the way. Good stuff. And one of the big events they did in it was they did something called Shattered Grid, which I guess was like a time travel story, and there was basically all the different versions of the Power Rangers in it. But I got like, I think 2 or 3 issues into it, and it kind of dawned on me, or I guess I was reminded of how much, while I have a certain soft spot for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I don't give one rosy shit about any of the later versions. Yeah, Power Ranger Wild Force Dildo Ninja Squad or something. I don't care. Going on in this article some more. New York Times best-selling author Ryan Parrott was one of the key architects in the landmark Power Rangers Shattered Grid comic book event, and currently writes both Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Saban's Go-Go Power Rangers at Boom, along with creator-owned projects for Aftershock Comics. Honestly, I'm pretty certain keeping this project a secret has taken years off my life. These 2 iconic franchises were my TV parents, each teaching me valuable life lessons 30 minutes at a time. The Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles are too insanely awesome to not bring together. I mean, they're both color-coded teenage martial artists who fight monsters. It just makes too much sense, says Ryan Parrott. A huge thank you to Hasbro and Nickelodeon for letting me play with so many of their wonderful toys. As it's truly an honor to be part of such an exciting crossover. I'm the luckiest kid in the world. I cannot wait for all you to see what we've been putting together. Simon DiMeo is a comic book artist from Italy. He's recently worked as an artist on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for Boom Studios and Venom and Immortal Hulk for Venom, Immortal Hulk, Best Defense, and Old Man Logan for Marvel. It's an honor to be able to be working on this amazing project. I'm very happy to be part of this. One of the crossovers I've been waiting for since I was a kid, said artist Simon DiMeo. Drawing these 2 teams together is an amazing dream come true. Currently, the Power Rangers is celebrating 26 continuous years on the air, making it one of the longest-running kids' live-action series in television history, with nearly 900 episodes aired to date. Created by Haim Saban and launched in 1993. I would have thought 94. With Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the franchise celebrates its milestone anniversary this year with 26 seasons. Power Rangers Beast Morphers, currently airing on Saturday morning at 8 p.m. on Nickelodeon in the U.S. No one could possibly love the Power Rangers or the Ninja Turtles more than the creative team at the helm of this epic event, which means they've got every dream team up scenario you could think of jam-packed into the pages of every single issue. Says Dafna. Dafna. Good. I'm so bad with names, and then you throw out these wild, wacky fucking names at me. Editor, Boom Studios. Monsters will grow, shells will get kicked, and that thing you're really hoping will do, yeah, that's in here too. Print copies of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ninja Turtles will be available December 4 at local comic book stores or at Boom Studios' web store. Digital copies can be purchased from content like Comixology, iBooks, Google Play, and Boom Studios app. I'm pretty sure the digital copies cost the same. Really, don't fucking buy Ninja Turtle or digital copies of shit. Matt Brick says, fun fact, the original Yellow Ranger, the Asian chick, died on 9/11/01 in a car accident. That's kind of wild. I was not aware of that. I had no clue the Power Rangers was still going on. I kind of thought it was, but I couldn't have told you the name of it or even what the fuck channel it aired on. But I know they've been milking that ever since. I remember when it first changed from Mighty Morphin to something else. Like it became, God, what were they called? Like Tommy the Green Ranger, who at that point was a White Ranger, he became the leader of the new team. He became the new Red Ranger. But they weren't Mighty Morphin Power Rangers anymore. They didn't have like cool animal dinosaur themes. They just had like stupid shapes. Like, oh, what were they called? Because They had to get like the power source, the magic bullshit power source got fucked up, so they had to go find new ones. They were like crystals, and like Tommy's like a Red Ranger, but like his face mask is just like a black star on his face, and the rest of them just have like black shapes on their face. They looked like generic Chinese knockoffs of the Power Rangers. Somebody says Nostalgic Critic had a very funny review of some of the Power Rangers movies. There's a guy, Geek Critique, whose channel I watch. He reviews games, and it's funny. His early videos, he's a lot more fat and has a lot more of a lisp. And to his credit, you got to give the guy credit. In his later videos, when you see him on camera, like if you watch then his later like Donkey Kong reviews, he got kind of jacked and he sort of lost the lisp. So good on him, self-improvement all the way. But he did a review of all 5 versions of the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger game from like 94, because it was on 5 different consoles. It was on Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Gear, and Game Boy, and then a Sega CD one, which was just like, it was just literally a quick time event button mashing Simon Says game while you watch an episode of the show. That was the Sega CD one. Somebody says Linkara was autistic towards Power Rangers. Yeah, I know, he's like a huge Power Ranger guy. Like he knows the whole fucking history and lore of not just like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but no, he knows the whole 26-year history of the fucking franchise. Like he's all about it. I mean, God bless him if you're enjoying it, like, but I think about 90% of people jump ship after Mighty Morphin. So he says Linkara autistic. So yeah, he's got a bit of the tism in him. I mean, look, we're geeks here. We all got just a touch of the tism in us. All right, but you try to keep it a little under control. Linkara, though, no, not so much. Like, I know Linkara does a show, and that's his job, and okay, fine. But I really, really get the impression that he owned those Power Ranger costumes and the Star Trek uniforms before he ever did the show. And if he wasn't doing the show, he would have still just owned those things, like, and been wearing them, with like not just going to a con once in a while, and I'm just kind of fucking wearing them around the house. Like, he sort of strikes me as that kind of nerd. But yeah, this is a fun project. It's a fun little comic book. I'm looking forward to it. You gotta enjoy the shit that's out there that looks fun. Like, we can all focus on the fact that, okay, we turned James Bond into Shanae Shabubu Jackson, and that's a shame, but okay, there's 20 fucking Bond movies, 22, 23, 24, something like that. And at least half of them are pretty damn good, so go watch those. Like if you're a young kid and you got to deal with the fact that, I should say young kid, I don't mean like little kid. I mean, you're a teenager, you early adulthood. And you got to deal with the fact that a lot of media sucks. You come home from a hard day and what the fuck are you supposed to watch or listen to or whatever. There's a whole backlog of shit. Like if I had a kid, I would not let them watch TV, but I would get all sorts of kid shows on DVD, and it's like, this is what you're going to watch here. Get classic cartoons from, even into the early 2000s, but before that, 90s, 80s, even 70s and shit. So he says, good rule of thumb in regards to the Asian yellow Power Ranger, don't die to a living stereotype. Yeah, that is kind of funny. The Asian girl died in a car accident. That's somebody says Linkara having autism isn't surprising if he's dedicated to reviewing movies and comic books. That's, trust me, that him just having geeky interest is like the least of it. Somebody says, I'm convinced SJWs use diversity as a means to kill a franchise. I will say this. The one kind of funny thing I'd love to see the reaction. Richard Spencer. Oh, and funny story, by the way, the new defense secretary that's just been appointed is also named Richard Spencer. It's not the Richard Spencer we all know and love, but that's kind of funny. Like, Richard Spencer is the defense secretary, but not that one. But point is, the the Richard Spencer we all know and love. He has got James Bond boner from here to Alpha Centauri. So, it's kind of funny watching something he loves get fucked up. I mean, I like James Bond too, so I don't want to see it fucked up, but I'm gonna love watching him spurg about it. So. But yeah, there's plenty of old stuff. Go watch that. There's very little modern cartoons. I know that much that I'd let a kid watch. But I mean, there's very little modern programming that's worth a damn, anyways. And the stuff that is good, don't worry. If it goes on long enough, they'll fuck it up. That's a sad reality. If it goes on long enough, they will fuck it up. I thought the Marvel Cinematic Universe was pretty bitching for a while. That's going to get fucked up. The version of Spider-Man they have already sucks. But yeah, like a little kid, I know a lot of you want to have kids or you plan to do it, but don't get, somebody says case in point, The Simpsons. Yeah, no shit. The Simpsons went from the greatest thing on television, ever, to absolute fucking garbage. I mean, something like Family Guy or even South Park may have lost its touch, but it's not complete and total trash. I lost interest in South Park because it kind of pussed out, and that was sort of the end of it for me. But I still find Family Guy decently entertaining. It's definitely past its prime, but it's decently entertaining. The Simpsons is it's embarrassing, is what it is at this point. Everyone involved in it at this point should be deeply, deeply ashamed of themselves. Yeah, the Simpsons is horrible. I can't imagine. And again, if you took just the first 8 years of The Simpsons, you'd have what I would say was probably the greatest show ever. White Wolf says, did you see the YouTube Originals ad for the Deported? It's about some illegal who has a white wife and half white kids, and he might be deported. He could always take his family with him. I know obviously that I believe that's a show. It's fictionalized. But if that was a real scenario, I wouldn't have an ounce of fucking sympathy. Because first of all, what the fuck makes him think he had a right to come here in the first place? Isn't it your country? A sovereign nation has the right to deny entry to anyone for any reason. All right. But second of all, you mean you got married and you started a family and you never got your fucking legal status sorted out? Fuck you. So he says season 8 is where a lot of the crappy modern Simpsons stuff started. Season 8 was about the beginning of the end. Yeah, there was a lot of shit in there that I've seen really interesting in-depth analysis that said that one episode where we reveal that Principal Skinner isn't really Principal Skinner. That was the beginning of the end. That was when, it officially punished you for caring, as it were. It says greatest TV show in history is Diners, Dive-Ins, and Dives, Fight Me Plebs. What is that? One of those shitty fucking reality shows that's out there? There's a million of them fucking things about guys running fucking, like auto body, custom shit. Like, oh, we put a spoiler on your fucking Mustang, and that's the show. There's a million ones of those. It's funny, my boomer dad would fight me and say the greatest show ever is the Andy Griffin Show. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? What a fucking boomer tier answer. Oh, you mean the show that had zero fucking conflict? Yeah, that's entertaining. You could occasionally get a chuckle out of Don Knotts acting goofy. That was the height of the entertainment that would ever come out of that shithole of a show. I'm sorry, I didn't even like that when I was a little kid. Like, I was a little kid, I used to watch a lot of old shows. Nick at Night and stuff would rerun stuff. And I mean, there were some old shows I loved. Like one of my favorites was Get Smart. Get Smart's fucking awesome. Um, but Andy Griffin's show, come on. No. Somebody says Futurama may be blue pilled, but it still holds up. Futurama's damn good. Futurama is basically Rick and Morty with a soul. Like it's the less fedora Rick and Morty, as it were. And I know Futurama came first, but still. I guess Rick and Morty is the fedora Futurama. But Futurama is fantastic. I liked it since it first came out. But yeah, the first 8 or so seasons of The Simpsons, fantastic stuff. Yeah. Playing Rick and Morty had a pulse to begin with. I like Rick and Morty, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I'll be hard on it sometimes because the creators are shitbags and the fan base is disgusting. But it's a clever and funny cartoon. I enjoy it. Yeah, I'm not gonna take one of the fucking sides in the Rick and Morty culture war. It's just a cartoon I like. Zach the Bong Ripper says, "Hey, anyone want to go to an ICE detention center and firebomb it?" I of course disavow. Not that would actually get me showed off YouTube. So he says, I mean, the show won an Emmy, but its fan base is insufferable. But yeah, Rick and Morty is a good show. Season 1's really good. Season 2 is even better. Season 3 is okay. That's Rick and Morty. Now, is it something you should be basing your life off of and think you're a big brain nibba because you watch Rick and Morty and all this other obnoxious autistic shit? No. But it's a funny cartoon. You know, it's one of Adult Swim's finest, and Adult Swim's had some good stuff too. Stuff like Aqua Teen, shit like that. Robot Chicken's still funny to this day. But yeah, like I said, you know, if I had a kid, I wouldn't have a TV at all. I'd just have DVDs of old shows. You know, that'd be it. Like, I don't even think I'd get like any of the streaming services or something. I no. If I think it's worth watching, we will purchase it on DVD. Because we're given the state of Hollywood, we're probably not going to be watching that much. Certainly not that much new shit. And there's plenty of old movies. You know what? There's plenty of fantastic old movies. There's decades and decades of content out there to enjoy. I know Luke's driving right now, but if he gets a chance, I'm going to send him a link. If he hops in here before we're done. Should have done that earlier. I'm very, very professional. Netflix has the new She-Ra, I understand. Yep. Somebody says Fresh Prince was good, so was Family Matters. I liked those shows when I was a kid. Yeah, they were pretty funny. Yeah. And that's something that could be a family show that you could just watch as a family. It's, you know, there's nothing objectionable. He says, did you watch Nickelodeon shows? As a kid, I watched some. I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? Of the Dark as a kid, a good amount. As far as like the cartoons, I watched like when they first premiered, I gave all of them a shot. Like Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy were the first 3 that came out. But I never liked Doug because it was just too, I don't know, saccharine. There's just nothing to it, really, in my opinion. It was just boring. I didn't like Rugrats all that much. I don't get how Rugrats managed to survive for like 20 fucking years. It was not very good. Ren and Stimpy had flashes of brilliance, but just that. I'll tell you what I adored as a kid, and I love it even more as an adult, is Rocco's Modern Life. Rocco's Modern Life is so much smarter and so much funnier than it ever got credit for. After that, there was a bunch of Nickelodeon shows that I like remembered they existed. I knew they existed, but I didn't like. I never really stopped watching cartoons. I watch cartoons to this day, and I'm a man in my 30s. You know, as C.S. Lewis said, nothing more childish than being obsessed with appearing grown up, as a certain esoteric Catholic I once knew is. But there was a period where I kind of didn't watch as much, and I sort of I sort of didn't admit that I watched a lot of cartoons, you know, like middle school years and the early high school years kind of thing. Rocco was great, though. Rocco was great. Somebody says I hated Kids Next Door and Recess. And somebody says Kids Next Door and Recess was Disney. Actually, only Recess was Disney. Kids Next Door was Cartoon Network. Kids Next Door was garbage. Recess, I think I watched like one episode of it. And I mean, I was like at late high school, out of high school when that shit came out, I believe. But I remember like I caught an episode of it because it was either on right before or after Kim Possible, which I really liked. Somebody says Rugrats survived because it was a show about Hollywood's favorite degenerate sexual fetish, underage kids. Maybe, I don't know. I remember Rugrats. It was like a big deal at the time. You know, Easter would come around and all the cartoons would do Easter episodes, and they were almost never religious in theme. It was just like, oh, here, the Easter Bunny. We're saving Easter by helping Easter Bunny or something. But no, we got a Passover episode from Rugrats. You can't see it, but I just rolled my eyes there. I'm rolling them as hard as you can. You can't hear it, but if I roll them any harder, I'd tear my optic nerves. Season 1 Pokemon had potential, but it was shit. Everything after that went into Zombie Simpsons territory. That said, Erica greater than Misty. Well, I disavow that comment. I'm not even sure who Erica is off the top of my head. I watched a little of season 1 Pokemon. I wasn't really into Pokemon that much when it was first out. I watched a little of it just because after school there was the Batman and Batman Beyond and superhero and Superman shows, and even Static Shock that I liked. And usually Pokemon was wedged in the middle of all that. How about Fievel Goes West? That's Fievel Goes West is great. Don Bluth, man. Don Bluth did some brilliant shit back in the day. Anyone remember Sharky and George? I certainly do not. Milkshake Dove, look it up. I don't remember that either. Erica was the 4th gym leader of first gen. Was she the one with all the psychic Pokemon? I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. The Bulbasaur theme aside, I'm not a giant Pokemon fan. So he says, I never got Static Shock, but I like the intro. It was definitely the weakest of those superhero shows at the time on the WB, but it was all right. Oh, she was the grass type gym leader. Okay. Do you remember the Nick Teen shows like Hey Dude and Salute Your Shorts? I do remember those. Never cared for them that much. I liked a little bit of Clarissa Explains It All, but I think that's just because, you know, I had a bit of a crush on Melissa Joan Hart. Like, you know, when you're a little kid, you don't even really understand why you have a crush on a girl on the TV. Like it was one of those things. There was another one didn't last, but there was a show called Secret World of Alex Mack. I remember that being pretty good. So he says Animaniacs. Animaniacs, fantastic. Animaniacs is still good. That's on Netflix. I watch that once in a while. I'll fire up a random episode. So he says nothing beats a Tick. Yeah, the Tick was all right. So he says I had a crush on Alex Mack. Didn't we all? Didn't we all? I wonder what that chick looks like now. I mean, she's got to be easily in her 30s. Hang on. Let's figure this out. Secret World of Alex Mack. Let's get the actresses. Stars. Larissa Olinik was her name apparently. So let's look up what she looks like now, and I'll probably screen share when we see what she looks like now. So Olinik and not bad, not great. Here, I'll do a quick screen share here for you guys. I know, Boomer Tech Hour. There you go. Like I said, not bad, not great. I mean, I'm not digging the short hair there, but could be worse. So he says, rewatching Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, it's weird. There was a lot of Hillary Clinton shilling in the show. I don't remember that, especially not in Animaniacs. So he says, I wasn't allowed to watch Sabrina. You weren't allowed to watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I think I watched like the first couple of seasons of that. I liked it. I was in high school by then, but she was hot. It was a time. It was right after Sabrina got really popular. It was like I guess it caught some of the people by surprise. But they started doing a whole bunch of like on that Friday lineup ABC had. They did a whole bunch of shows like of this weird supernatural bent the one year. Like they did one show where the premise was this kid in high school, his best friend died, but his best friend would then like show up as a guardian angel that I guess only he could see. And it was his guardian angel now. There was another one where it was almost like a gender swapped I Dream of Jeannie, where it was a chick with a dude genie. And then there was another one where like a dude found a baby dragon and he was like hiding it in his apartment, and the dragon was like a bunch of puppetry done by like Jim Henson Studios. They were like all running like alongside Sabrina the Teenage Witch the one year. Because I just remember it was really odd, like because when I was a little kid, you know, the TGIF lineup, it was like led by like Full House, and it was all the family friendly little sitcoms like Full House and Step by Step and Family Matters and all that shit. And then once Sabrina became a hit on that lineup, they decided like let's just do all shows like that. So let's see. Oh, the other thing, if you haven't seen it, folks, there's a channel called Defunct Land, and they do a sideshow called Defunct TV. He did like a 5 or 6 part history on the life of Jim Henson. That's really, really good. I actually highly recommend checking it out. If you look up like Defunct Land Jim Henson, you'll find it. But good stuff, man. And it's amazing how many failures Jim Henson had. For as much as he's remembered as this, you know, untouchable legend, and in many ways, you know, rightfully so. I mean, that's one of the guys that shaped the imagination of American pop culture in a way that few others equal. Like you got to go to like Stan Lee or Walt Disney or something to find an equal in that regard. And you know, he pushed forward visual effects technology in filmmaking. But he had a lot of failures. Even stuff now that's considered like cult classics, like Labyrinth or Dark Crystal. Like Dark Crystal, it made a profit, but the critics hated it, and it kind of faded away. Labyrinth damn near bombed. And I mean tons of failed attempts to get the Muppet Show up and running before he finally got someone to pick it up. He finally, let's see. People talking about obscure shows. Anybody remember Alan Strange? That doesn't ring a bell. Something about Raven. Yeah, she was a lesbian. That's again one of those shows I remember seeing commercials for, just because I watched Kim Possible back when it was on, so I'd see commercials for all these other coming out with a new Different Stroke show starring Movie Bob. I don't believe they're doing that, because I'm pretty sure Movie Bob isn't allowed near children. Then you watch Drawn Together. Yeah, Drawn Together was pretty good. That was back when Comedy Central had balls. So we mentioned Invader Zim. I never liked Invader Zim. I was in, I guess, high school at that point. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know it was still going on when I was in high school, and I remember a lot of nerd kids, especially a lot of goth girls, fucking loved Invader Zim, and all this shit was at Hot Topic and stuff. But I tried to watch a couple episodes of it. I'm like, this sucks balls, man. There's just something about it visually I just found insanely unpleasant. So he says, all right, Bechtloff, time for you to gush. Give us an hour-long talk about the Ghostbusters animated show and comics. Well, the real Ghostbusters, first couple seasons, absolutely amazing stuff. Later when there's like a really sharp line. In fact, the name of the show technically changes. Originally, it's called The Real Ghostbusters, and that was to differentiate it from the Filmation Ghostbusters, which also had a revival cartoon at the time. Which I believe the remake would borrow heavily from, since they included a gorilla. Anyways, all joking aside, The Real Ghostbusters, fantastic animated show. Holds up to adult viewing. Because honestly, they wrote it partially for adults in mind, and we're even constantly fighting with censors. It's like 2 seasons in, I think. Then, or maybe it was 1 season, because seasons sometimes ran long. But after that, it became Slimer and The Real Ghostbusters, and that was after the network had thrown all these notes in, which is weird because it was a successful show, but the network meddled and kiddied it up and gayed it up, and the later seasons were pretty terrible. In fact, they even switched the voice actor. The voice actor that played Peter Venkman in Real Ghostbusters, he was a guy that did the voice of Garfield back in the day. I can't, Lorenzo something? Lorenzo Hughes? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Fantastic voice actor, though. Interesting side note, he did the voice of Garfield back in the day and did the voice of Bill Murray's character from Ghostbusters, and then Bill Murray would later do Garfield in a ill-fated Garfield movie. Interesting trivia there. But they replaced that voice actor with what the fuck is his name? Uncle Joey from Full House. The cut it out guy. That fucking obnoxious idiot. Dave Coulier. They replaced him with Dave Coulier, and Dave Coulier was not fucking funny. He was never fucking funny. He wasn't a good voice actor, yet he was in fucking everything. Like every damn kid show, like fucking Muppet Babies, Ghostbusters. He was all over the damn place. I don't know whose dick he was sucking. But yeah, the later Ghostbusters, not so good. Early Ghostbusters, like I think they did a couple of times, but they were missing episodes or something. I really wish they'd put that back out on DVD, put the whole thing out on DVD. It's not out on DVD enough. But yeah, good stuff. Then there was the Extreme Ghostbusters in the 90s, which was sort of a sequel, Although, you could make the argument it was its own continuity because the art style was so different. And indeed, in the Ghostbusters comic, because there's, a multiverse of different universes, the Extreme Ghostbusters is just its own universe. But the Extreme Ghostbusters, like everybody retired except Egon, and he recruits a bunch of new people, and it was sort of the diversity fucking gas. There was a black guy, there was a white kid in a wheelchair, there was a goth chick, and there was a Hispanic dude. So it was the Burger King Kids Club of fucking Ghostbusters. Like, honestly, if you wanted to do a Ghostbusters movie and do the fucking diversity shit, instead of that terrible rebooted Ghostbusters, you could have just done a live action version of Extreme Ghostbusters. That would have scratched the diversity itch and at least possibly not sucked. Somebody says, you ever seen the classic Medicare Jim 81 Jim do a takedown of Spax over the Sonic shit? Yeah, Spax supposedly used to lose his shit because he didn't like the voice actor of Sonic in Sonic X. And I mean, I'll grant him Sonic X sucks. Everything about Sonic except for the Princess Sally cartoon and the old Genesis era games pretty much sucks. And yeah, Urkel was the superior Sonic voice actor. I'm not going to dispute that, but I'm also not going to lose my shit over this one minor detail of a franchise that's been completely run into the dirt. I mean, honestly, if I had to list the things wrong with modern Sonic, with Sonic basically since the Dreamcast on, the voice actor in Sonic X, I don't even think that's cracking the top 100 of things wrong. So he says Dave the Barbarian was pretty funny. I vaguely remember that, but I don't think I ever watched it. Lorenzo Music. Okay, that was the name of the voice actor. Yeah, he's fantastic. So he says, I once knew a girl whose dad does the puppetry and voice for one of the Muppets. Do you remember the Dinosaur Show? Jim Henson was dead by then, but Jim Henson Studios produced that. And they did the puppetry for that. That show was great. The baby dinosaur was actually voiced by the guy that does Elmo. That show had a dark fucking ending. Like the whole world ends and everybody dies. Like that's the end of the Dinosaur Show. Everybody died. Everybody went extinct and died. The end. It's a kids show. Fuck you, kids. Life's... Somebody says Farscape is also a Jim Henson Studios production. That's right, it was. I had a roommate that was really into Farscape. I watched a little bit of it with him. So he says, what's sad about Sonic X is there's a promo for it where it was supposed to be set on Sonic's world like the old cartoon. The animation and art direction in Sonic X is gorgeous. Like the character models and animation all is gorgeous in it. But I mean, it's shit. Sorry, dead air. I know I'm looking at the chat a little bit there. But yeah, Sonic X is garbage. Like I said, basically everything about Sonic, except for like a couple of things, was garbage. He says there's also Sonic Underground. Oh, yes, the DeviantArt recolor cartoon. So he says, remember the Disney shows based on movies like Aladdin, Tarzan, Little Mermaid, etc. I remember a little bit of the Little Mermaid one. It wasn't bad. It was like a prequel to the movie, I guess. The Aladdin cartoon was actually probably their best one. It took place between the second and third movies. It was damn good. It was a bunch of them based on stuff like that. There was a Lilo and Stitch one. There was a there was a Timon and Pumbaa one actually. But yeah, the Aladdin one's the only one that I actually think is. I don't believe they ever put that on DVD or collected it, but I think if they did, if that was just the complete series, I'd probably just scoop it up. Um, so he says, why did they rename him Eggman at some point instead of Dr. Robotnik? That was his name in Japan originally, but Dr. Robotnik's the better name. You know what was good? 90s Marvel cartoons. Most of them were pretty good. X-Men and Spider-Man were obviously good. Fantastic Four and Iron Man, not so much. Iron Man shit. Um, Fantastic Four, I think it's season 2 is really good. It was like 2 seasons, and one of them was really good, and one of them was not. And I think it's been a while since I watched it. I think I scooped them up on DVD at like '06 and finally watched all of like season 2 is pretty good. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was season 2, not season 1. Like it had some cool ass moments, like when everybody was fighting Galactus, and all these other superheroes show up to help him, and like Ghost Rider like gives Galactus the pennant stare and fucks him up. Now, for those of you that aren't nerds like me, the pennant stare that Ghost Rider can do, it makes you feel the weight of all your sins. So basically, Galactus felt the full weight of the billions, if not trillions, of sentient life forms he's killed over the eons. So he says 90s Batman was all we needed to watch. 90s Batman was definitely the better than the Marvel ones. But somebody says, thoughts on replacing Chris Hansen of To Catch a Predator? If yes, how would you change the show? I mean, you basically got to have it in fucking Washington right now. Justice League Unlimited. Oh yeah, all the Bruce Timm DC stuff is basically gold. Let's see. Oh, so it's a guilt trip inducer, basically. I mean, that's one way to put it. But I mean, it's a guilt trip to an extent that's physically painful. So he says, fun fact, Ghost Rider's pennant stare didn't work on the Punisher. Well, I mean, did the Punisher really do wrong? He hasn't, like, Galactus killed innocent people, you know. The Punisher just kills shitbags. Somebody says the reason for the rename is because, I guess, for Sonic, for Dr. Robotnik, Sega Japan got more control and started reverting everything to the Japanese naming and characterization. Well, that's right around the time the franchise went to shit, too, if I'm not mistaken. So good going, Japan. Please, all you Pocky chomping fucking weebs, defend that one to me. Young Justice is so good. Yes, Young Justice is. So he says Frank Castle literally says, "I regret nothing." He's not wrong. Let's see. Fucking weebs, they ruin everything. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, they do. Fucking weebs. Fucking weebs. Honestly, I remember a time when manga was basically considered for girls. Like, you know, if you were a nerd, like you read comics and your girlfriend read manga. That's what it was. Dr. Eggman is obviously a superior name to Dr. Robotnik because he looks like an egg. Not really. Especially the modern design where he has that weird Michael Jackson coat and he's got like like his torso is a foot long and his legs are like 5 feet long. Like he especially doesn't look like an egg then. No, Dr. Robotnik is obviously the better name. So he says the new Young Justice really woke this season. I heard that. That's a shame. Yeah, I heard it. I heard it got woke. Got fucking paused in the neck hole. Again, though, you can just go back and watch the Bruce Timm DC stuff. You're not going to find better than that. I wonder what they'll call Jim Carrey's version. Hopefully that just gets fucking canceled. Like, somebody says, worst car accident you were ever in / saw. I've been in a couple of car accidents that totaled cars. Yeah, I mean, I as a teenager, I totaled one of my cars. Dr. Eggman is a superior name because it's a Beatles song. Well, if anything, that's yet another point against Dr. Eggman because the Beatles kind of fucking suck. That's not fair. The Beatles are overrated. That's what the Beatles are. They're fucking overrated. Like, I got news flash for you, boomers. The Beatles were just a boy band, okay? They were the Backstreet Boys or the New Kids on the Block of your fucking day. Yeah, I don't even think it's fair to say, though, they did it first. I guess they were first white people to do it. But they only did it first if you're not counting all those Motown fucking, 4 or 5 man groups that did it before them and were better. Yeah, the Beatles fucking suck. All right. They were a boy band. They did cheesy fucking pop music. And you know what? There's actually nothing wrong with that. That's why I shouldn't say they suck. They were overrated. There's nothing wrong with that. Cheesy pop music is fun. I like listening to a lot of goofy, cheesy pop music. It's just fun, cute music. All right. But stop acting like it's this high fucking art form or something. All right. Like, what is it with you fucking boomers? Like I really don't believe anybody 50 years from now, they might be nostalgic for things like Backstreet Boys or New Kids on the Block or NSYNC, but nobody's going to be trying to fucking argue about how they were all geniuses and it was the most amazing thing ever and all this other shit. The Beatles were a boy band. And you know what? You want to be like, well, they did all this artsy stuff too. Yeah, but that stuff all sucked. All right. And even most of their solo stuff all sucked, except Paul McCartney actually had good solo stuff back in the 80s, in the 70s and the 80s, I guess. But like John Lennon was fucking garbage, both as an entertainer and as a human being. So yeah, fuck the Beatles. So he says, all right, I think I'm done with trolling. Robotnik was a superb name. I told you everything you need to know about him. Oh yeah, and I don't know what the game's continuity, but I know in the continuity of like the old Archie comic and the Saturday morning cartoon with Princess Sally and all. His original name was actually Kintobar, which is Robotnik spelled backwards, and he just switched his name around because he thought it was cool. Once he went all like apeshit evil, turning on everybody, he's like, "I've declared myself Robotnik." So and it's fucking build robots and shove squirrels into them because I've gone fucking crazy. Let's see. What's wrong with John Lennon? Drug use, unrealistic views of peace. He was a fucking communist shithead. That's what was wrong with him. I don't care if he was doing drugs. I don't particularly have much of an issue with doing drugs. No, he's a communist shithead. And as an artist, he sucked. Okay, his music fucking sucked. His solo stuff fucking sucked. So yeah, the Beatles music is cute. It's cute. That's what it is, boomers. It's just fucking cute. All right? It's cute little pop songs. Stop acting like there's anything more to it. Like, this drives me nuts with the boomers, too. Like, look, everybody fucking is going to be nostalgic for shit they had as a kid, and especially as a teenager. Your formative years and all that shit. I'm always going to have a nostalgia boner for music from about, I don't know, 97 to 2002. And it's not that there's anything particularly special about that music. It's just that's when I was a teenager. Those were my formative years. You know, if a song is on the radio when you first get your dick sucked, that song's going to tend to endear itself to you. But like, I don't go around and actually unironically try to argue that this tiny little slice of time when I just happen to be a teenager is the only time that good music ever existed. Boomers fucking do. They do that all the time. How long have we been going on here? Might wrap this up. We've been going on for about an hour. Yeah, I guess I'll probably wrap this up. That's about all I got for tonight. But so I'm gonna try and dig into Mario Maker a little bit more. Mario Maker's got like so much new shit that I almost really don't even know where to start with it. I threw up a couple of levels, but so she says, "What if the song is from Nickelback?" Yeah, I don't particularly like Nickelback that much. I don't really get the Nickelback hatred though. I don't get like the meme level of hatred towards them. To me, they sound like basically every other fucking modern rock group. Hell, there's a that you remind me and someday or something like that. Those two songs by Nickelback I kind of like. The Photograph one's fucking terrible though. But like I said, it just basically sounds like everything else on a modern rock station to me. So I don't get the super special hatred that band has. All right. Well, so I said I think people hate Chad from Nickelback for being an actual Chad. I like his. I like the song he did for the first Spider-Man. That wasn't Nickelback though. That was just him. The hero song he did for the first Spider-Man movie. And again, it's not that it's a particularly great song. It's that it's from the first fucking Spider-Man movie, and I have a nostalgia boner for it. So, you know. All right. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, folks. If you enjoy the content I put out, do consider supporting the show. We got the PayPal, Patreon, and Amazon wish list. All ways you can support this program. And you can also follow me on Twitter. Well, it's not really me. Luke runs the Twitter for me, but it's twitter.com/Bechtloff podcast, but with no A in the word podcast. Also check out Discord and Facebook.com/the Bechtloff. Oh, I'm also on Gab, but I don't fucking ever post on Gab because Gab sucks. Gab's so fucking boring. There's only so much of hearing fucking Wignat Spur you can tolerate before you're just kind of done with it. Alrighty. That's about it for tonight. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.